Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cashwise Teens, the podcast where we dive into the world of money, entrepreneurship, and building a financially smart future. I'm Annie Le, a high school student and the founder of Teentrepreneur, an organization dedicated to helping young people build their own financial future. Today's episode, The Art of Earning Building Your Own Income Stream, is all about starting your own business. We'll be talking about identifying business opportunities, choosing the right product, conducting market research, and so much more. If you ever thought about starting a business or growing your own income, this episode is for you. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, someone who embodies the entrepreneurial spirit and has years of experience in education and business. Dr. Dawood Vaid is an educationist, trainer, and the co-founder of Sky Education, a Pan-Asia education organization, and director of Golden Sparrow Education. Dr. Dawood has a fascinating background. In the past, he's worked as a patent and trademark analyst with scientists in Moscow and Switzerland. Through these experiences, he observed different educational approaches and created his unique fun-learn methodology, making learning engaging and accessible for students. Now, let's get right into the interview. Hello, Dr. Dawood. To get started, could you please introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your name, where you're located, and what the name of your business is?
All right. Thank you so much, Anne, for inviting me, and it's wonderful. My name is Dr. Dawood Vaid, and I live in the financial capital of India, Mumbai. And what I do is I primarily am an educator. So I'm part of a series of micro schools, and the organization is called Golden Sparrow Education.
Golden Sparrow Education. So could you tell me a little bit about the aim, the goal, and the vision of your business?
Absolutely. I started as an engineer, a patent lawyer. I've been traveling a lot across, Dubai and Europe. And what I realized is we aren't teaching our children the kind of skills that are required for learning in life, from entrepreneurship, finance, money, skills like decision making. So this was one of the goal of Golden Sparrow, that can we equip the students? And this is when we say sparrows in India, when I grew up, they were beautiful and many. Today, they're endangered species. And the way I look at it is, creativity is endangered in children, skills is endangered. So that's the aim of Golden Sparrow, to bring back, to revive skills, and we call it democratizing education. And hopefully we'll spread our wings like little chirping birds across the world.
Wow, that is very nice. The meaning behind your name is also beautiful. Wow. One thing is that because you mentioned sort of the insufficient education like on finance, entrepreneurship, and all of that's practical application. I also am planning to kind of tackle that problem with a project that I'm working on now, which is Teentrepreneur. And so that's why I'm so glad to have you here, because this is the same thing that we're working on, we're tackling. And I'm glad to see that there's an example of someone who's come before me, who's come to manage to grow it into such a successful venture and startup. So I'm really glad to be here and learning more about it today with you.
Absolutely, yes.
So based on your experience, what knowledge is essential for someone to become a successful entrepreneur in the first place?
This is lovely. It's a deep question, and I think young people like you do something ambitious. It fills my heart with pride, because I see there's so much hope in the world. You're not taking the standard route, and you're actually challenging the norms. You see, the journey of an entrepreneur starts with an idea. It's a desire. It's the passion. These are the intangible things that an entrepreneur starts. You don't need an alarm clock. You wake up with that joy and to create something wonderful. That's the start of the day. It's like climbing the mountain. The biggest thing you need when you want to climb a mountain is not the rope or the oxygen cylinder or the gear. It's the mountain itself. So what's their idea? An entrepreneur must live with the idea. While in India, we are a nation of a lot of startups and a lot of unicorns now. Somebody wants to deliver food in 10 minutes. Somebody wants to open the largest share market platform. Somebody wants to, there is a company which is teaching things online. So everything has a goal. So an entrepreneur needs to have the passion and then the goal. What are you bringing? What are you changing in? Of course, then there are a few basic aspects of an entrepreneur where you need to be able to articulate your idea. I call it the elevator pitch. Imagine asking any children, that's what we do in our school also. If you were to meet the icon, the hero that you are, looking for, it could be, the late Steve Jobs. It could be Elon Musk in an elevator. It could be Alibaba's, the kind of heroes that we've grown up with, Jack Ma. What is that in 1 minute? How would you convey your idea to him? That's public speaking. An entrepreneur must know how to articulate the idea. So that's number three. Number four is very different from idea is the process of it. It's called execution. There's a book I recommend called Execution itself, right? There's a beautiful book. You can Google it by Ram Shadi. And this is where most of the entrepreneurs fail. The ideas are wonderful. It's a dream you have. You created a pitch deck. You presented the idea well. But how are you going to scale it up? How are you going to bring it up? And that's the fourth part of it, execution. And fifth, and perhaps the most important part of any entrepreneur is how are you going to manage people? A lot of times we think about money. Trust me, and there's enough money in the market. I've raised money, CDA, CDB, angel funding. People have deep pockets. It's just that you don't have vision which is deep enough to reach them. So it's the people. Are you able to create teams? Are you able to retain teams? Are you able to put your passion in that team? So these are the five ingredients that make up an entrepreneur. I know you'll make a successful one, but hopefully that gives an answer.
So what exactly makes a good idea, and what makes an idea worth tackling and scaling into a startup?
This is a deep question, and what I realize is there are many ideas across. I mean, you must watch a movie called Social Network on how Facebook started, and the dean of Harvard probably just said, "Go get a new idea." So ideas are dime a dozen, but what's important is your idea solving a problem? We had these young boys in India who solved the delivery problem. You would buy a grocery and it will take hours and ages to come, and they promised a delivery in 10 minutes. The company is called Zepto, and they solved a real time problem. You must know that your idea should solve somebody's problem. For example, we've got no issues of pens out in the market. If I were to design even a breast pen, it doesn't matter because there are enough marketing thing. But if somebody says, hold on, people are holding the mobile phones all throughout, can I make a widget that makes a mobile stick to the fingers and it's light on your hand? It's an idea that's worth solving. People are addicted. This is the kind of idea you need to solve. Number one. So once you're solving it, find a creative solution to your idea. I'll give an example from I was heading to school and I could see no joy in children. Children were tired, they were lethargic, they would drag themselves to school. And I said, no, that's not the way to learn. This is when a micro school concept came up. Kids have fun, we have smaller numbers, that's what Golden Sparrow has done. We solved a problem with a creative solution. This is what I wish all the young entrepreneurs learn.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So on to the next question. Many of our listeners are actually teenagers and college students who are eager to start their entrepreneurial journeys. So what actionable advice and doable suggestions would you give to them? Specifically, how can they be financially savvy and make smart money decisions early on, specifically in terms of their startup? And I guess this is more referring to kind of because when starting a startup, you have to balance a lot of things like the funds that you invest into your business and also the funds that keep you going to sustain your daily life, right? And so I was just wondering, what is the optimal amount of investment that they can put into their business without impacting their life and balance?
So let me start with an unpopular opinion. Number one, anyone who wants to start a business, please read. I mean, I know it's an odd, but from a teacher, it is obvious that I want teenagers who are starting their journey to read. Remember Warren Buffett, the greatest investor of our time with Charlie Munger, and he said, I would never invest in a company I do not know about. So he met the CEOs, he met the founders. Whatever you're starting, let's say you're starting a finance company. How many books on finance are you aware of? So that you must rattle off at least a dozen. You should know psychology of money. You should know Rich Dad Poor Dad. You should know The Richest Man in Babylon. So these are beautiful books to read. Someone wants to start an academy. They should public speaking. They should have Napoleon Hill as their book read. So find a domain that you are very very good at. Number one, that happens with reading. Today, podcasts are wonderful. So you equip yourself with enough knowledge. This is important because otherwise, I'm a patent lawyer also. You will be treading on an invention which is already done. You wasted 5 years of research for finding a solution which is already there in the market. Number one. Number two, find a mentor. A lot of teenagers, one of my favorite questions to somebody, I met an 82-year-old gentleman. We were on a hiking together, and I ran to him and I said, "Sir, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you were to meet yourself at 20?" And he said, "Find a mentor." So I say, who are your mentors? And mentors need not be somebody for lifelong. It could be a short mentorship. It could be just a journey together. Number one. Number two is find a mentorship. Number three, yes. How much capital is required? You must know that capital comes with credibility. People give money with people with credibility. What's your credit score? Not the financial credit score on your credit cards. What's a bet I'm willing to take on you? So usually people raise money through their family, friends, but also people raise money because you have invested your money. I say a safe amount is 1/3 of your capital. Now let's say I have a saving, and in my saving, I am willing to put 1/3 of my capital in my entrepreneurship startup. I think I'm safe. I am believing in it. Of course, the other 1/3, goes to your own expenses. The other 1/3 goes for higher education. So if somebody says, "Look, 33% of everything I own, I'm putting on for my company," I think there'll be many people willing to start, your journey together. Finally, since you're a financial person, you would know that raising capital need to be a reasonable amount. When you ask, the biggest problem with our teenagers is they don't ask. So when you don't ask, the answer is no. So you never ask, I never gave. Ask, but justify your ask. Find out why are you asking what you're asking. I am assuring my teenagers, all of you young people out there, people are ready with their checks signed. You just need to reach them.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. So the next question is, for you personally as an entrepreneur, what financial goals or what kind of financial goals have been the most effective in driving your success?
Wonderful. I'm more of an education person, so I always thought that finances run the system, very essential. Two things I really did which helped me a lot. One is I always was frugal in burning my capital. So when I raised the capital, so I had my angel round, I had an investors round. Also, I was absolutely frugal, aware of what else can I do. Number in the first part itself. So I kind of looked at the resources I need to hire. Could you do a digital marketing for me and also create a lovely graphic designing poster? Okay, this is a multi-dimensional person. Let me hire the person. Little higher salary, I would do that. Number two, I always put more money on people than infrastructure. So I would rather spend money on developing people than on developing infrastructure. Most of us get it wrong. We love to put money in expensive things, and it is said, right? We value things and don't value people more. If you just reverse it, flip it, when people are with you, your team is your biggest financial strength, and it'll grow.
On that note about kind of mistaking the importance of investing in things instead of people, what are some other common mistakes that you believe entrepreneurs should avoid?
Lovely. So many of them, entrepreneurs, only thing I advise people is make mistakes, because eventually you will make mistakes, but make new ones. Don't repeat the old ones. So if you've hired a wrong hire, I can improve policy, because that's one mistake. I keep saying it, one hiring blunder affects the entire morale of the team. So that's something you need to look into it. Number two, do not burn cash overdue. So you have a marketing budget and you end up spending a lot of money on that. Number three, you don't have proper financial goals. People don't have audit sheets with them. They don't find a great lawyer and a great CA. If a chartered accountant is what, we look at, find two people who can advise you on finances every now. This should be advisor are key integral part of your team. You call it CFO, Chief Financial Officer, you call it financial analyst, anyone like that, it should be brilliant. Finally, number 3 is in today's world, are we there on social media? And to me, my favorite social media is not TikTok and Instagram, it's LinkedIn. Every entrepreneur must be on LinkedIn. If you aren't on LinkedIn, you don't exist.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. A lot of my friends are they have LinkedIn accounts, but they're all private. I'm like, there's so much stuff that you can do with that on that.
Yes. They
So
need to be active, reach out to people on LinkedIn. You need to just, be there every day.
I definitely agree with that. So finally, let's say someone wants to become an entrepreneur right now. What first step can they take in order to ensure that their startup works?
Right. So ideally, what I would suggest is begin with an idea, and an idea must be on a paper. If an idea is in a thought, it's a dream, it's a wish. And we don't have genies where they'll come out of the lamp and grant your wish. Your idea need to be solid on a paper which is printable. And it cannot be 50 pages, it needs to be 3 pages, 5 pages, but it needs to be put down in ink. That's part number 1. Part number 2, begin slow. A lot of us begin with a bang and we leave a job and we jump into it. Begin slow. The younger you are, the more risks you can take. Right? So if you're in the 20s, you will be able to find a fault, make a mistake, and keep coming back. The older you get, you need to find your niche. You need to find your area that you're good at and then stick on to it. So these are some of the things I think young people do. Yes, I always say read or listen to a podcast. Do not let your day go away without one of these. It is essential that you grow so your company grows, that your finances grows along with it.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Dawood, for sharing your valuable insights with us. Your advice, I think, will definitely resonate with our listeners and inspire them to take their first steps into entrepreneurship. And before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share, or any resources such as books, like you mentioned earlier, that you'd recommend for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Right. So I think, yes, among the books that I recommend, I'm a mindset coach. I do a lot of counseling. I do a lot of training for young people. So there's this beautiful book called The Mindset by Carol Dweck. Her work is absolutely amazing. A lot of people have fixed mindset that no, I can't grow, I can't do this. And there's the opposite, which is the growth mindset. And I strongly believe you need to have a growth mindset. Number 2, it's your mental space. What goes between your 2 ears is very important. Grit, perseverance, don't give up on that. So, as much as you focus on your physical health, you should also focus on your mental health. One advice that I strongly believe and I implement is your family is your best space to be in. If you are young, ambitious, friends, fantastic, go ahead, party the whole New Year Eve. But how much time are you spending with your family? Invest in a small card game, ask questions to each other, spend time with your mom and dad, your younger siblings, your elder ones. It's what you do. I love to spend, vacations with my daughters. I go all to different parts of the country. India is a large country, and you should visit Mumbai once, and we'll be loving to host you at Golden Sparrow. Travel around the world. My last advice is pack your bag. The younger you are, the less burdens you carry. Go travel. Jump from Vietnam, go to Singapore, go a little further to Malaysia, come to Sri Lanka, India, travel to Europe. The more you travel, more it broadens your horizon. It will be wonderful.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. What an insightful conversation with Dr. Dawood Vaid. His journey and advice really highlight how creativity, persistence, and smart decision-making can lead to incredible entrepreneurial success. To recap, we talked about identifying business opportunities, the importance of conducting relevant market research, and how to start on your own journey of becoming an entrepreneur. Dr. Dawood also shared some fantastic actionable tips on starting your business and ensuring long-term financial success. I hope you found today's episode just as inspiring and valuable as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Cashwise Teens on YouTube so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you have any questions or topics that you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out through our Instagram at teentrepreneur.ngo or email us at teentrepreneur.official@gmail.com. A huge thank you to Dr. Dawood for sharing his knowledge and experience with us today. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in and being a part of this journey together. Let's continue to grow, learn, and make smart financial decisions. That's it for today's episode of Cashwise Teens. I'm Annie Le, and I'll see you next time.